Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me. My email is tmosso@thewatchbox.com. It's still in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see on any of our platforms. Please reach out to me directly. I am tmosso@thewatchbox.com for pricing details. Today we are discussing a 2022 launch that represented the latest evolution of a model line that first bowed in 2011. This is the Patek Philippe 5270P-014 Perpetual calendar chronograph, the latest in a grand series dating back to 1941, a signature watch in the Patek catalog, often considered to be the core complication. Dates back to the original 1518, a watch launched during World War II that was essentially unique in the world, a perpetual calendar wristwatch with a chronograph, and this is the heir to that mantle. The watch, 41 millimeters in diameter, in platinum, 12.8 millimeters thick, from lug tip to lug tip, 49.6 millimeters with a 21 millimeter spacing between the lugs. And you know this is a modern platinum Patek Philippe because you have the brilliant cut top Vesselton diamond between those lugs. On my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, the watch wears beautifully, comfortably, broad, but it fits. I could recommend it for a wrist as small as 15 centimeters in circumference, but if your wrist is any smaller than that, you're going to want to look at a 3970 or a 5970. This is quite large by Patek standards historically. Over the top, it always exaggerates the width of the watch, take my word. The lugs are far inboard of the edge of my wrist, and that's easier to see in this down the barrel shot. It's also quite flat with a concave, a very slightly concave sloped bezel. It will slip underneath the dress cuff. Now, I didn't wear this cuff to match the dial, but I do think we should discuss that dial before we jump to the strap and the clasp. This is not just a green dial version of previous 5270s. A lot has changed here. Most versions of this watch feature a tachymeter. This one doesn't. This goes back to the tachymeter-free dial design of the original 5270 from 2011. You can also see that there's no chin. The date isn't superimposed over any of the tracks running beneath it. You'll also appreciate that what we now have are these rather blunted, faceted Dauphine-style hands with a center channel for higher contrast. That's in comparison to the leaf hands that are usually used on this model, and the indices generally equipped on this model tend to be stick style without the pointed dart faceting that you see here, or they are pyramid and Arabic numeral style. This is a very distinct dial whose features amount to far more than the use of a gradient smoked fade green. So a lot of changes from recent versions of the 5270. Now the strap, happily, is a Patek Philippe factory strap with this wonderfully whimsical, contrasting and color-coordinated green stitch. It is gloss finish, large rectangular scale alligator leather, the best cut of the hide, because you can see not only large rectangular, but symmetrical scales. On the bottom, calfskin, no crimping, no gouging, a brand new factory strap. You can see Patek Philippe's pull-tab spring bars are present, so you can pop the strap off the case with your fingernail for easy swapping, and a full matching Calatrava cross-topped single-fold Patek Philippe deployant clasp with the branding inside, a snap-shut system, and then the Calatrava cross, the symbol of the brand, which you will also find on the push-down crown. The watch has a 30-meter water resistance. This watch has never seen a refinisher's wheel, so there are a few very subtle burnishing marks, such as here on the case flank, but the condition is 9.5 out of 10, and most importantly, it's all factory platinum. Every line you see here was laid down by Geneva, not Joe, not our local refinisher. Nobody but Patek has touched this case. Taking a look, you can see that the case has a couple of steps leading up to the bezel, which is concave, and then it has a terminal flange flanking the crystal. The lugs are stepped out dramatically from the case band, and you can see how well-defined the fluted profiles of the lugs are. That's something you always look for on these to make sure that they are all original metal and still sharply defined from the original factory finish. The tops and the bottoms of the chronograph pushers are satinated, but the outer faces are polished. The dial, yes, it does have a fumé fade, so we have that gradient green from light at the center to dark at the edge. The hands, the indices, they are white gold, so they will not oxidize, tarnish, or cloud or discolor over time. We have our running seconds display. You can see that the sub-registers are countersunk for a little bit of a change of plane, that we have two concentric scales outboard, one for reading minutes and seconds, and then the outermost for reading fractions of seconds seconds with the chronograph. Look carefully at the hands, and you can see that they do have 3 facets on their top. We have a white varnished seconds hand. We have a perpetual calendar with a day, a radial date, a month, and a moon phase. We have a leap year indicator and a day-night indicator, and that little hole will turn dark when it is the nighttime. And the nighttime, when that's dark, is the time you will not use pusher adjusters to correct the calendar. That's why Patek gives you that little AM, PM, day-night indicator. It's a go, no-go for using pusher correctors on the case flank. Now, the perpetual calendar can deal with irregular length months. It can deal with leap years up until the year 2100, so basically set it, keep it wound, and forget it. The moon phase has an adjustment interval of once every 122 years. Patek Philippe gives you a super crisp column wheel action for the chronograph, and I would dare to say that it actually has a slightly smoother engagement than a lot of lateral clutches, but it's still a lateral clutch for a very specific reason, which is that Patek considers these to be more advanced for watchmakers to assemble and tune, and also more traditional and more beautiful, and I'm not going to argue with that. Lateral clutches are classic chronograph arrangements dating back to the pocket watch days. A vertical clutch may be, quote, more efficient, but it's also ugly if you can see it, and mostly hidden, so you generally can't. We have this lovely lateral clutch, satinated on its top, stainless steel. You can see it features, or pardon me, this is conventional steel, not stainless, and so it's even harder. That's why conventional steel is used internally, and stainless steel tends to be used externally, where water resistance and corrosion resistance is necessary. So the flanks of this steel chronograph clutch are beveled, the tops are satinated, the cap of the column wheel is polished, and that cap is a Geneva standard that's long been used as a signature of watchmaking in the city or canton. Although it's used as a beauty cap today, traditionally the idea was to keep the horns from the levers and the clutch from popping out of the crenellated towers. It was an impact resistance measure. We have a little pawl-based instantaneous minute jumper. You can see a little golden pocket watch style chaton inside the chronograph clutch. And then we have a overcoil hairspring shaped by hand. The watch is adjusted in 6 positions, so every position, one more than a standard chronometer. And the overcoil ensures that it keeps very consistent time in any position relative to gravity. It beats away at 4 Hertz, again, manual wind with a 65-hour power reserve. And yes, it does feature hacking seconds, which you can see right there. Taking a quick look, the watch features several different focal planes, tones, textures, and material. Although Lange is well known for chronograph finish and architectural flourishes, seeing this latest generation 29535 PSQ will lead you to respect Geneva watchmaking at its highest level as clearly the equal of Glashütte at its best. You could see the satination, the mirror beveling, the Côte de Genève, the black polished screw heads with chamfered slots and circumference. You could see satination on the wheels, which are internally beveled, engine turning on the base plate, and no shortage of black polish, which you can see on every component that is turning black as I angle it through the light. If you love this watch, know this, they are rare. And they are beautiful. Reach out to Team Mosso at thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details.